Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went in there? Or maybe you've had one of those moments where you're telling a story and suddenly, poof, you can't remember what you were saying. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. That little foggy feeling happens to all of us now and then. But if it's been popping up more often lately, you might be wondering, is my brain just slowing down? Let me reassure you, just because you're getting older doesn't mean your brain has to get dull. In fact, your mind is still full of energy and potential. It's just that, like the rest of our body, it needs a little more care and stimulation to stay sharp. The good news is, keeping your mind in top shape doesn't have to be boring. You don't need to sit down with a math textbook or memorize flashcards. Nope, the key is actually much more fun. Today, we're diving into 4 simple daily brain games that are not only fun to play, but also powerful tools to clear away that mental fog and keep your thinking sharp. These are things you can do in just a few minutes a day, whether you're sipping your morning tea, waiting for a friend to call, or winding down before bed. So if you're ready to give your brain a little boost, and maybe even surprise yourself with how quick and clever you still are, let's jump right in. Let's start with a game you can play right from your armchair. No tech required. It's one of those old classics you might have enjoyed years ago but haven't touched in a while. Word association. Sounds simple, right? And it is, but it's secretly a powerhouse for your brain. Here's how it works. You say a word out loud, let's say apple, and then immediately say the first word that pops into your head. Maybe it's pie, or orchard, or red. Then keep going. Red might lead to stop sign, which leads to traffic, and so on. Keep the chain going as long as you can. Don't overthink it. Just let your mind wander and react. Now you might be thinking, how does this help anything? Well, this little game activates your memory, vocabulary, and creativity all at once. It gets your brain firing in different directions, kind of like taking it out for a walk. And the best part is, it brings back old memories and connections you haven't thought about in years. You might go from peanut butter to school lunchbox to Timmy's missing sandwich, faster than you can say 5th grade. Want to make it more fun? Try it with a friend or your grandchild. You say a word, they say the next, and you keep the chain going back and forth. Trust me, once you get laughing about some of the strange connections you come up with, you'll forget you're even exercising your brain. And that's the beauty of it. Now, if you're more of a numbers person, or even if you've never been one, there's a game you can play with just a pen and a scrap of paper that sharpens your focus in under 5 minutes. I like to call it Reverse Counting Challenge. It sounds too easy at first, but stick with me. Start by counting backward from 100 by 7s. 100, 93, 86, and so on. It seems simple, but just try it out loud and see how fast your brain kicks into gear. It forces your mind to do quick calculations, hold information, and focus, all while working through that natural fog we sometimes get in the afternoons. If 7s feel a bit too tricky, start with 5s or 2s. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to engage. And every time you do it, you'll notice it gets a little easier. That's your brain building new pathways, growing stronger, and getting used to staying alert. It's a bit like lifting weights, but for your neurons. And just like with physical exercise, a little bit each day goes a long way. Another version of this game is to count backward from a random number like 317 and see how far you can go. Or even better, make a game out of spotting numbers in your daily life. When you get your grocery receipt, try adding up the digits in your head. Look at a license plate and subtract the last number from the first. Little challenges like that might seem silly, but they work like mini workouts for your brain. Here's the secret. You're not just working on math. You're working on memory, patience, focus, and self-discipline. All skills that help fight off brain fog and keep you thinking clearly, even on your off days. And let's not forget, your brain thrives on variety. Just like you wouldn't want to eat the same meal every day, your mind loves a mix of challenges. So on days when the counting feels too dry, switch things up, bring in a deck of cards and play a quick game of solitaire, or dig into a crossword or a Sudoku puzzle. The point is to stay curious and engaged, because when you're interested, your brain wakes up. Now, before we move on, let me just say, if you've ever felt like your mind is slowing down, or you can't concentrate like you used to, don't be discouraged. That doesn't mean you're broken or fading. It just means your brain is asking for a bit of attention. And these games, they're not just little time passers. They're medicine. Laughter, creativity, mental focus, it's all part of what keeps you sharp. So whether it's word association, reverse counting, or some clever number games on the go, you're already taking steps to push that fog away and invite clarity back in. It's about building a habit. A few minutes each day where your brain gets to stretch, play, and remember how powerful it really is. Now let's keep this momentum going, shall we? One of the best things about giving your brain these little challenges each day is that you start to notice the changes almost without trying. You might find yourself recalling someone's name a little faster or noticing a detail you would have missed before. It's like a light switches on. Subtle at first, but oh, does it make a difference? Now let's talk about another game that's not just fun, but downright delightful, especially if you enjoy storytelling or taking little trips down memory lane. I call it What Comes Next, and it's as imaginative as it is powerful. Here's how it works. You start with a single sentence, anything at all. For example, the postman left a strange package on my doorstep. Then you simply build from there, adding one sentence at a time, creating a story as you go. It can be silly, serious, or completely off the wall. The important part is that your brain is actively constructing, remembering, and imagining. You can do it out loud to yourself, write it in a notebook, or, if you're lucky enough to have a grandchild nearby, make it a shared game. You say one sentence, they say the next, and so on. It's like passing a little story baton back and forth. And believe me, the laughter and wild twists that come out of this game, they're better than any crossword. But don't be fooled. Behind all the fun, your brain is doing serious work. You're strengthening your working memory, stretching your imagination, practicing language skills, and encouraging creative thinking, all key to keeping that mind razor sharp. Even better, this game taps into your life experience in a way that few others do. As the story unfolds, you might find yourself weaving in details from your own past, places you've been, foods you used to eat, people you once knew. Suddenly, you're not just telling a story. You're reconnecting with memories, pulling them forward, polishing them up. It's like finding an old photograph in a drawer and remembering how you felt the day it was taken. And when you get into the rhythm of it, your mind feels awake, alive, engaged. That's the magic of it. Now, if storytelling isn't quite your cup of tea, there's another game I absolutely love, especially for folks who like a little mental competition, even if it's just with themselves. It's called Category Sprint, and here's how it works. Pick a letter, any letter, and set a timer for 1 minute. Now, try to name as many items as you can that start with that letter, but they all have to fall within a category. For example, fruits that start with the letter B. Go. Bananas, blueberries, blackberries, blood oranges. How far can you get? You can switch it up with categories like countries, movie titles, animals, or even names of people I used to know. You'll be surprised by how quickly your brain jumps from one memory to the next, sometimes pulling up things you haven't thought about in decades. There's something exhilarating about it, especially when a word pops into your head and you think, where did that come from? That's your brain dusting off the shelves and finding treasures you forgot you had. It's also an excellent workout for your attention span, memory retrieval, and verbal fluency. What I love about Category Sprint is how portable it is. You don't need a phone, a notepad, or even a partner, just your voice and your thoughts. You can play while folding laundry, during a walk around the block, or while waiting for your tea to steep. It turns idle moments into opportunities for mental clarity. And here's a little tip. If you want to take it up a notch, try switching categories halfway through the minute, or do it backwards. Start with the item and try to guess the letter. Anything that makes your brain stretch is a win. The beautiful part of all these games, whether it's telling a story, counting backwards, or naming animals that start with S, is that they're not just games. They're tiny rituals of connection. Connection to your own mind, to your memories, to your sense of humor. And if you share them with someone else, even better. You're making space for joy, for play, and for staying mentally vibrant well into your later years. And let me say something important here. Keeping your brain healthy doesn't mean you need to chase some impossible standard. It's not about becoming a genius or outsmarting anyone. It's about feeling confident in your own thoughts. It's about noticing that you remember what you came into the room for, that you follow conversations more easily, and that you're more present in the little moments of your day. That's what this is really about. Clarity, confidence, connection. You have a brain that's lived through decades of experiences. You've solved problems, navigated changes, raised families, built careers, survived losses, and celebrated joys. That mind of yours has been through a lot, and it deserves to feel strong and steady. So whether you're playing a silly word game, telling a wild story, or rattling off 10 types of soup that start with C, you're not just passing time. You're honoring your brain. You're telling it, hey, I still need you. Let's have some fun. And fun is powerful medicine. Let's keep going. And speaking of fun, there's one more brain game that's close to my heart. It's a little quieter than the others, but don't let that fool you. This one might just be the most powerful of all. It's called Daily Snapshots, and it's a simple memory recall game that helps you hold on to life's small, beautiful details. Here's how it works. At the end of each day, or even halfway through if you like, pause for a few minutes and ask yourself, what are 3 small things I saw, heard, or felt today? Try to be as specific as possible. Not just, I took a walk, but I saw a robin pecking at the garden bed, or I heard the wind rattle the blinds, or I felt the warmth of the mug in my hand. Then, say them out loud. Or better yet, write them down in a little notebook, something you keep by your bedside or next to your chair. You can call it your snapshot journal. These aren't big memories. You're not writing a memoir. You're simply training your brain to observe, to notice, and to store details. Why is this such a game changer? Because memory thrives on attention. When we train ourselves to pay attention to the present moment, we give our brain more material to work with. We anchor ourselves in time. We also create a habit of reflection, something deeply nourishing to the soul. Over time, this practice sharpens your recall. You'll start remembering more of your conversations, what you had for lunch, what someone was wearing. The fog lifts, not because you're forcing it, but because your brain is back in the habit of noticing. And let me tell you something beautiful that often happens with this game. As you collect these little moments each day, they start to tell a story, a quiet, lovely story of your life right now. Not the headlines or the big events, but the real stuff. The bird at the feeder, the smell of rain, the neighbor's dog barking at the postman, the smile someone gave you at the store. And when you go back and read those entries a few weeks or months later, it's like opening a time capsule. You'll remember more than you thought you would. You'll feel more grounded, more connected to your own daily life. And isn't that what we all want? Not just a sharp mind, but a meaningful one. One that's awake. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, that sounds nice, but I'm not much of a writer, let me stop you right there. This isn't about writing beautifully. It's not about grammar or spelling or being poetic. It's about paying attention to your life. That's it. And once you start, I promise, it becomes something you'll look forward to. And here's the thing. All of these games, the word chains, the number challenges, the storytelling, the memory snapshots, they're not about chasing youth or pretending we're in our 20s again. They're about honoring the brain you have today, keeping it vibrant, feeding it curiosity, giving it a chance to grow in new directions, even now, because your brain still wants to grow. That part doesn't stop. No matter your age. Scientists call it neuroplasticity, but really it's just the brain's way of saying, give me something interesting to do. And when we answer that call, we feel sharper, happier, more in control of our thoughts, more in touch with who we are. And the beauty is, you don't need apps or screens or subscriptions. You already have everything you need. A few words, a little time, a bit of imagination, and most importantly, the willingness to engage. That's the spark. Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind you of something very important. Brain fog isn't a life sentence. Feeling forgetful, a little fuzzy, or out of it now and then doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means your brain is asking for attention, and you're showing up for it right now by being here. So let yourself play. Let yourself try these games even if they feel silly at first. That silliness, that's joy, and joy is good for your brain. Laugh, make mistakes. Try again tomorrow. That's how we stay sharp. Not by being perfect, but by being engaged. And don't forget, you're not alone in this. There are so many others just like you, waking up to the idea that brain health can be fun, that staying mentally fit doesn't have to be boring or lonely or hard. It can be a daily gift you give yourself, one small game at a time. So here's what I'd love for you to do. Pick just one of these games and try it today. See how it feels, see what comes up, then try another tomorrow. Mix and match, make your own versions. And if something makes you smile or surprises you, write it down, share it with someone, or pop it in the comments. Your story matters. Your brain matters. And this chapter of your life, it can be just as rich, vibrant, and full of discovery as any other. Maybe even more so, because now you're doing it with wisdom, with experience, and with that quiet strength that only comes from living a full life. Here's to clear thoughts, to playful moments, and to minds that stay alive and awake no matter our age. You've got this.